Hello everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Bulletin. Thank you for joining us today. Tonight, we're diving into a story that has left fans stunned. A rare moment of honesty from one of Korea's most iconic couples. Hyun and son Ye-jin revealed the hidden challenge that nearly rocked their relationship. What was the struggle that almost came between them? Why did they decide to open up now? And how did the couple everyone adores pull through something so universally relatable? Stay with us, because we're about to uncover every emotional detail, every truth behind the calm exterior, and the revelation that shook their fans worldwide. Let's get started. No one expected the revelation to come from them. Hyun and son Ye-jin were, to the world, the picture of perfection, two stars whose love story leapt from the screen into reality, whose smiles felt unshakable, whose bond seemed forged in light, not struggle. That illusion shattered the moment they sat down on the glossy stage of the special broadcast. The faint tension in Ye-jin's shoulders betraying emotions she had kept locked away for too long. The cameras blinked awake. The crowd hushed. Even the air felt expectant. Hyun cleared his throat first, his usual composed expression shadowed by something heavier. "There is something we've never spoken about publicly," he began. His voice was calm, but beneath it trembled an unspoken weight. Ye-jin glanced at him, briefly, protectively, before looking back down at her hands. Fingers were knitted tightly together. The host, sensing the gravity of the moment, leaned forward slightly. "Is this something difficult to share?" Bin nodded. Yes. It was a moment that nearly changed everything. A shock rippled through the audience. And fans watching live from around the world felt the shift, the sudden drop in tone, the electricity in the silence, the way Ye-jin's breath shook ever so slightly. Something big was coming. Hyun continued slowly, as if peeling open a wound that had barely healed. "Everyone sees our happiness now. But there was a time we almost," he paused. The word hung in the air like an executioner's blade. Walked away from each other. Gasps broke out instantly. Ye-jin inhaled sharply, tears threatening to rise. She lifted her gaze, and the pain there was undeniable. "It wasn't because we didn't love each other," he said, voice trembling. "It was because loving each other wasn't enough in that moment." The hall grew impossibly quiet. She clasped her hands even tighter. "There was a period when our careers were pulling us in opposite directions. Different schedules, different continents, different expectations. It felt like we were living on parallel paths that kept drifting further apart." Hyun's jaw tightened. He remembered it too, the missed calls, the lonely hotel rooms, the time zones that turned conversations into crossed wires. "We were both exhausted," he said softly. "Didn't know how to say that to each other." The host's voice softened. "Was it miscommunication? Or like silence?" Hyun answered. "We kept pretending we were fine. Pretending we could handle the pressure. Pretending we weren't hurting." He exhaled, a shaky breath that felt like it had been held for years. "And the more we hid, the further we drifted." A roar of heartbreak swept through the crowd. Fans watching the live stream typed desperately, begging for reassurance. But Ye-jin's next words deepened the emotional blow. "One night," she said quietly, "I asked him if we should continue." Hyun closed his eyes as the memory stabbed through him. The audience froze. The host's breath hitched. Even the staff behind the cameras stopped moving. "It's the hardest sentence I've ever said," Ye-jin whispered, her voice breaking. "Not because I wanted to leave, but because I felt like I was losing him without knowing why." Hyun looked at her with a pain that needed no translation. "And it was the hardest question I've ever had to answer." The room pulsed with the rawness of their confession. "We sat in silence for a long time," Ye-jin continued, "just staring at each other, realizing that love alone wouldn't fix what we weren't willing to face." Her voice trembled as she added, "Thought that was the end." Hyun shook his head gently. But it wasn't. Just as the tension peaked, just as hearts clenched in dread, Hyun leaned forward, eyes dark with a memory of a night that nearly broke them apart. "Turning point came," he said. "From something so simple it shocked both of us." The audience leaned in, breathless. "We finally talked." And what happened during that conversation changed the course of their future forever. Hyun remembered that night vividly, the cold wind slipping through the balcony door, glowing beneath them as if holding its breath. They sat side by side but worlds apart. The distance wasn't physical, it was emotional. A vast space carved by unspoken fear and bottled-up exhaustion. Ye-jin had stared at the skyline, eyes shimmering with a heartbreak she tried to hide. "Tell me what you're thinking," she whispered, her voice so fragile it threatened to shatter. Hyunbin's throat tightened. "I'm scared," he finally admitted. "Scared of losing you. Scared that I'm not giving you enough. Scared that the world is pulling us apart faster than we can hold on." Ye-jin turned to him, shocked. "I thought you were the strong one." Shook his head. "Not when it came to you." Her breath faltered. "That was the first crack in the wall between them. I felt like you didn't need me anymore," she confessed softly. "Like you were always moving forward while I stayed behind. Maybe that's why I thought we should end it, before it hurt even more." His heart dropped. "How could you ever think that? You never said anything." Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. "You always held everything inside." He reached out, gently catching one tear with his thumb. "Because I didn't want to burden you. You're already carrying so much." Their eyes locked, two souls finally seeing the other's bruises. And then, unexpectedly, Ye-jin began to cry openly, shoulders shaking as years of silent pain cascaded out. Hyun pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she felt anchored for the first time in months. "I never wanted distance," she sobbed. "I wanted you. I'm right here," he whispered into her hair. "I never left." That night, they talked until dawn, every fear, every misunderstanding, every unsent message finally spoken aloud. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't poetic. It was raw, uncomfortable, and honest. But it was real. And it saved them. "Sun rose," Hyun said during the broadcast. "We decided we wouldn't run from problems anymore. We'd face them, even the ugly, painful ones, together." Ye-jin nodded, her eyes glistening. "Promised not to let silence become our enemy again." A trembling smile touched her lips. And from that moment on, everything changed. It erupted into emotional applause. Some cried. Some hugged. Some whispered that they had never seen two celebrities reveal something so deeply human. Hyun turned to Ye-jin with a love so unmistakable it lit the entire stage. "It was the hardest moment in our relationship, but also the most important. We came close to breaking. But instead, we became stronger." Ye-jin took his hand, twining their fingers. The gesture was soft, simple, yet more powerful than any speech they could give. And as the lights dimmed around them, the couple smiled at each other, no longer weighed down by hidden wounds, by the truth they finally shared. "Love isn't perfect," Ye-jin said quietly. "It's choosing each other again and again, even when it's hard." The crowd rose to their feet. In that moment, it was clear. What nearly broke them had become the very thing that forged them into something unshakable. Their story, raw, vulnerable, imperfect, became the reminder the world needed. Even the strongest love faces storms. But the love that survives them shines brighter than ever. As the stage lights dimmed and the applause slowly faded into a soft echo, one truth lingered in the air. Hyun and Sun Ye-jin's story was not defined by perfection, but by the strength they found in their most fragile moments. Their confession revealed something deeper than glamour or fame. Revealed two hearts learning to speak honestly, to face storms together, to choose each other not only when love was easy, but especially when it wasn't. What nearly pulled them apart ultimately brought them closer. Once felt like breaking became rebuilding. And their honesty reminded millions that even the most beautiful relationships carry hidden battles. But it is in those battles that love learns to grow. Their story did not end on that stage. It simply opened a new chapter, one built on truth, resilience, and a bond stronger than the challenges that once shadowed it. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. For staying with us until the very end. Here at Behind the Bulletin, we are committed to bringing you the most powerful stories, intimate moments, and the raw truths behind the brightest stars. Your support, your curiosity, and your passion are what keep us going. Stay tuned for more captivating stories, exclusive insights, and unforgettable moments from the heart of K-entertainment. This is Behind the Bulletin. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.